Ever since the creation of Call of Duty Zombies back in World at War, the mode has always had a problem, one that Treyarch still hasn't managed to solve to this day, and that particular problem is players demanding more content. And for some reason, the people at Activision have been hesitant to allocate more resources towards making additional Zombies content, so this has always been kind of an ongoing struggle for both Treyarch and the Zombies community. It's not just that the players want more maps, they want more perks, more guns, more Easter eggs, more everything. And in Black Ops 2, Treyarch made an attempt to meet some of that demand with a supply of secondary game modes. We got Grief, and we got Turned, and regardless of what the community thought of those game modes back in the day, it was pretty clear that the idea of having additional game modes for zombies was something the community could get on board with. And since then, there have been a couple of attempts at making more game modes for zombies, specifically in Black Ops 4. We got Zombie Rush and the Gauntlet mode, which I think were two solid game modes in a not so solid game. And because Black Ops 4 had so many other issues, the community was just too occupied to pay that much attention to these two game modes. So they kind of flew under the radar. And here we are today with Cold War Zombies. Another day, another attempt on Treyarch's behalf to yet again create a second game mode for zombies that is fun and enjoyable. This time we have Cranked, a game mode that requires you to essentially never stop pulling the trigger. The rules are simple. You have a timer that is counting down. If the timer reaches 0, you will simply implode, like my brain did when I found out that the correct way to peel a banana is to do it from the ass end. The only way to reset the timer is to kill a zombie. As the rounds progress, the amount of time you're given to kill a zombie becomes shorter and shorter, and it caps at 5 seconds, which happens at the start of round 27. And that's really all there is to it. It's very simple and very straightforward. But is Cranked actually a good game mode? Well, yes and no. The reason why it's kind of a mixed bag is because it depends too much on the type of player that you are. Cranked is very fast-paced. Everything is constantly coming at you, you don't get to stop, you don't get to take a breather, the zombies never stop spawning, and you're forced to just keep going. It's very different than a normal game of zombies, and for that reason, I think it's great. The problem with Jingle Hells and Onslaught is that they're just not different enough, but Cranked plays a lot more differently than those game modes. It's stress-inducing, it's intense, it's filled with a lot of anxiety, and it's meant to keep your heart rate up. And by the way, if I ever stop uploading, it's probably because this game finally gave me a heart attack. But here's the thing, if you're a casual player, you might not like this game mode. It might be a little too fast, a little too difficult. It only appeals to a certain playstyle, and it kind of alienates everybody else, and for that reason, I think it's not good. But it's definitely leaning on the good side, because even a casual player can eventually get a hang of it and maybe start to enjoy it. But if you're asking someone like me, I think the game mode is great. I love the fast pace, I love the chaos, and overall, this is my kind of game. But let's get into some more details, because even though I like the game mode, it's far from perfect, and it has some glaring issues that definitely need to be worked on. In Cranked, the game is asking you to move at a certain pace, and it wouldn't be possible for you to move at that pace if the zombies all spawned in like they normally do in a normal game of zombies. So what they've done is that they adjusted the zombie spawns and their speed to accommodate the fast-paced action. So most of the time, you're not gonna run out of zombies to kill. You're gonna find a zombie soon. And that's the case most of the time. The one time that the spawns become a big issue is when the dogs are thrown into the mix. Because even though the zombie spawns and their speed have been adjusted accordingly, they're not adjusted well enough to be able to work well with a dog round. When you get a dog round, it just disrupts everything, and it ruins the flow of the game, and it might actually get you killed. You see, in this game mode, not all the zombies are running at full speed all the time, because that would be too difficult to deal with. There are zombies running at full speed, and there are zombies that are walking at minimum speed, and they all spawn in together. It's always a mixture of the two groups. When a round ends, the zombies don't stop spawning. So you get a constant flow of running and walking zombies all the time. However, when you get a dog round, the zombies stop spawning in. You can have some zombies left over, but if you kill them before the dog round ends, no more are gonna spawn in until the dog round ends. So you basically get a small gap between the end of the dog round and the beginning of the next round when there are no zombies spawning in. And that creates a big problem because the timer is still counting down. yet you have no zombies to kill. So you're probably gonna be met with the sweet release of death, and it's really annoying because it's just a design flaw. But because the game is moving so fast, a small issue like this can become a big problem and get you killed, because now every second matters. What you can do to kind of work around this problem is to keep some of the walking zombies alive until after the dog round. And when the dog round ends, you can use some of those zombies to get yourself through to the next round. But that's not always possible because it's not exactly easy to tell when the dog round is about to come. Another problem I have with this game mode is how stingy the game is with loot, specifically with salvage. For some reason, the zombies drop a lot more equipment than salvage, and I don't really understand that decision. I think it should actually be the other way around, since the game doesn't give you much time to hit the box or get set up the way you want to. The least they can do is give you salvage, so that way you can buy yourself some armor and upgrade the weapon you already have. They do some things to compensate for the lack of salvage drops. For example, the Wonder Fizz machine is available to you from the beginning of the game. You don't have to do anything to unlock it, it's just there for you to use, which really helps and I really appreciate it. Another thing they've done is when you kill the Megaton splitters, they give you way better loot than they do in a normal game of zombies. They give you weapons, ammo, armor, support items, and sometimes perks, which is great, but it still feels like it's not nearly enough. You constantly get ammo drops, which you don't need that much, but you get very little salvage, which you do need, and that creates a balance issue. Another small minor issue is even though the Megatons do give you better loot, because you're burning through the rounds so fast, they spawn in a lot more frequently, so it feels like you're not getting a break from them, and it can be kind of overwhelming, but in a bad way. I get that the whole purpose of this game mode is to overwhelm you, but it just becomes irritating having to deal with this highlighter looking ass bullet sponge over and over again. Also, another thing they added is a power-up that stops the timer for like 10 seconds, but it's really rare, and when you get it, you probably don't need it. I think something like that should maybe be a consumable that is given to you at the beginning of the game, and you can use it whenever you want. But it's only one and done, you're not gonna be able to use it all the time. I think that would work really well since you could incorporate it into your strategy and it could add another dimension to the gameplay. It would also take care of the problem we talked about earlier with the dog rounds, and I think it would actually be quite fair since you don't get a second life in this game mode. It's good to give those casual players a chance to save themselves, but as a power-up, it's just an afterthought. It's just like the naughty or nice power-up in Jingle Hells. After a while, you kind of forget it actually exists, and that's not really a good thing. So to sum it all up, when it comes to secondary game modes for zombies, Cranked is not amazing. It might not even be the best one, but it's definitely a good start. It's a solid attempt, and it's a step in the right direction. With Onslaught and Jingle Hells, it felt like they were just kind of making minor changes to zombies and selling it off as new game modes. But with Cranked, at least it plays different, feels different, and flows different. So it actually feels like we got a real second game mode for the first time in years. That is gonna do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments section down below what you think of Cranked. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.